working in the spirit of the Golden Empire. This is 17 News at noon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maddie Janssen. Starting off with your court watch, a Kern High School district teacher accused of asking a student for sex is cleared of his charge. Last March, Bakersfield police charged Johnny Watson with annoying a minor, a misdemeanor crime. He was accused of asking a 17-year-old for sex. 17 News learned a jury acquitted Watson on Friday. Before being placed on leave, Watson worked as a video production teacher at the Kern High School District Regional Occupational Center, and we're working to find out if he will be returning to that job. Where there's a will, there's a way. That's what a Bakersfield fire captain had to say about homeless people repeatedly breaking into and starting fires in the abandoned East Hills Mall. Just after 5 this morning, a security guard called 911 for smoke at the facility. At least 3 county and 2 city fire trucks arrived on scene. Fire officials say homeless people are stripping copper wires out of the building for money, and that's what usually sparks the flames.
The facility itself inside is pretty much destroyed. Like I said, they're stripping all the wire out, so everything inside there, all the drywall, there's holes tunneled throughout the entire mall, through all the storage parts of the stores. Wires are stripped out, the ceilings have been pulled in, the glass doors have been shattered and broken, and so it's a huge mess inside there right now.
No one was found inside. There have been several fires recently at the abandoned mall. There's a fence surrounding the building, and many doors are welded shut, and there's even 24-hour security on scene, but still somehow people get in. Last month, 17 News reported that plans to demolish the current building for a new development had been delayed, and a notice of default had been filed against the developers Chris Hayden and Craig Carver. Despite the setback, Hayden told us then they were moving forward with the project. Making news around the world, the man suspected in the deadly shooting in the Netherlands has been captured. It happened in the city of Utrecht. The city's mayor said the shooting left 3 people dead and 5 others wounded. The attack took place on a tram. Authorities said they're considering the possibility of a terrorist motive. An official said the suspect was known to the government, but did not elaborate. Dozens of Muslims returned to mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand today for the first time since a lone gunman killed 50 people in mass shootings. Australian Brenton Tarrant, a suspected white supremacist, has been charged with murder. In addition to the 50 killed, dozens others were wounded at 2 mosques in the South Island city during Friday prayers. Here in Bakersfield, people are pausing to remember those killed in this tragic shooting. It's happening from 7 to 8 on the CSUB patio. The event is open to the community. Making news around the nation in the Midwest, a late winter storm causing river levels to rise dramatically, creating massive flooding. And the floodwaters are proving far more deadly than last week's bomb cyclone that caused them. With its blizzard conditions and hurricane-like winds, the raging waters are already responsible for 3 deaths, hundreds of rescues, and thousands of evacuations. NBC's Kathy Park reports.
This morning, the Midwest is underwater. Thousands forced to evacuate their homes because of historic flooding. States of emergency have now been declared in Wisconsin, Iowa, and Nebraska.
A little too much to take in right now. It's like I look out there and I just see nothing but a big ocean.
Multiple states feeling the effects of the bomb cyclone, last week's late winter storm that triggered massive flooding along rivers. One of the hardest hit, the mighty Missouri.
Hopefully people understand with the quantity of water that's coming down the Missouri River that you stay out of the water.
So far, at least 3 people have been killed by the raging waters. In Iowa, 1 victim drove around a safety barricade and was swept away by floodwaters. While in Nebraska, a person was killed after refusing to evacuate their home. Another drowned while trying to save a trapped motorist. It's so bad, even horses are waiting to be rescued.
Our concern is really horses nearby that are stranded in a barn.
Some animals warning their owners of the danger.
The house is right here. Their dogs woke them up because they got in water and they were cold and they started barking.
Many residents say the water rose so fast they had just minutes to evacuate.
Maybe a half hour we had to get out of there.
Entire towns like Fremont, Nebraska are now completely cut off. Small planes and helicopters are the only way in.
All the road infrastructure is gone, covered in water.
After assessing the flood zones, the governor of Iowa says the cleanup will be massive.
We'll do it, we'll get through it, but we got a lot of work ahead.
work that can only begin when the waters recede.
And that was NBC's Kathy Park reporting. We're back now on your 17 Health Watch. Parents don't need to wait to give their babies peanuts and other allergenic foods. The American Academy of Pediatrics says introducing these foods as early as 6 months can actually help prevent allergies. However, high-risk infants who have severe eczema or an egg allergy may need to be introduced to peanuts under a doctor's supervision. Research on people who eat nuts shows the snack may be helpful in controlling weight, but some are better for you than others. Haley Hernandez reports.
It's true that nuts are high in calories, but in several studies, eating a handful a day was associated with weight control. Dietitian Erin Gussler insists it's a good snack, but keep it to one handful.
Now, not the claw where it's overflowing, right, but a handful.
Her favorite nuts for snacks are Brazil nuts for the disease-fighting function. These have more selenium than any other nut, a mineral important for thyroid function and reproduction.
High doses of selenium can actually cause toxicity, so I usually recommend, if you are going to do Brazil nuts, 3 to 6 a day.
Gussler says most nuts are great to get your micronutrients. In addition to protein, fiber, and healthy fats, nuts also supply a decent amount of magnesium, potassium, and vitamin E. Almonds are the nut's highest in fiber. Gussler also loves cashews, which can help with eye health. Walnuts are a good source of omega-3. Plus, according to Consumer Reports, pistachios contain more potassium than half a banana. But Gussler says she dislikes clients eating peanuts.
Potential to be a higher mold nut.
Higher mold?
So the potential to have a little bit more mold around that nut, and then potentially you're eating some of that.
Back now on your 17 Business Watch and checking stocks with about 40 minutes left on the trading day. On Wall Street, the Dow's up 17 points, the Nasdaq up 14, and the S&P 500 up 5. Meantime, oil prices, West Texas Intermediate up today at $59.02 a barrel, and Midway Sunset started the day at $65.27 a barrel. Burger King brewing up a plan for you to get your caffeine fix. The fast food chain's launching a coffee subscription service. Coffee lovers can pay $5 a month for one small cup of regular Joe per day. A small cup of Joe costs about $1 at Burger King, so the monthly subscription's valued at $30. It's at least a $20 value even if you're just a weekday commuter. So sign up, just download the BK app and click the Offers tab daily to redeem the beverage. There are new questions surrounding training for the Boeing 737 MAX pilots after 2 deadly crashes involving the aircraft as Boeing 737 MAX 8 planes remain grounded around the world. Investigators are working around the clock to figure out what brought Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 down earlier this month. And now the Pilots Union for American Airlines is saying the training they received on an iPad just isn't enough. Here's NBC's Gabe Gutierrez.
This morning, a clear similarity. Ethiopia's transport minister saying data shows a connection between the Ethiopian Airlines crash last week and the Lion Air crash in October. The FAA saying it has not yet validated the black box data in the Ethiopian disaster. The 2 crashes within 5 months of each other, claiming more than 300 lives. Officials in Indonesia and Ethiopia are looking into whether faulty sensors and the plane's software are to blame for both crashes involving Boeing 737 MAX 8 planes. Hours before the U.S. made the decision to ground the MAX 8 last week, American Airlines Pilot Union said it had full confidence in the MAX. Now the union says its pilots were not adequately trained. Captain Dennis Tager has flown the MAX 8 and is a pilot union spokesman.
We were provided a 56-minute iPad lesson, which we could accomplish at home or wherever we chose to, because it was advertised as an aircraft that was virtually the same.
But it wasn't, he says. There was a new system.
When you add additional information, additional systems that we didn't know existed before, that changes everything.
Tager says simulator training for 737 pilots wasn't offered for the MAX 8, something the FAA signed off on. The FAA's acting administrator, Daniel Elwell, telling Savannah this last week.
My question to you is why 737 pilots were not trained on that system, have still not been trained on that system, and in fact did not even know this software system was on the plane. How does the FAA explain that?
Well, the MCAS system is explained in the manuals.
At the time of the plane's release, U.S. Airlines didn't have specific simulators for the plane. Aviation experts say the training was appropriate given the information they had at the time. Boeing telling NBC News it followed a process that was absolutely consistent with introducing previous new airplanes and derivatives. But according to Tager, simulators are key.
A simulator is the nearest thing you can have to actually having it happen. And they're critical in any pilot's deep tissue understanding of their aircraft.
It's not clear what training on the MAX 8 the Ethiopian Air and Lion Air pilots received. Tager says after the Lion Air tragedy, American Airlines Pilots Union asked for additional training in simulators and pressed Boeing on the new software. Boeing telling NBC News they are working on a previously announced software update and pilot training revision and hope to roll it out soon.
We don't want to see another 10 or 15-minute iPad course to tell us, here's the differences, now move along and fly.
Gabe Gutierrez reporting. When NBC reached out to the FAA about training for the MAX 8, they said U.S. pilots have had simulator training for a situation similar to what the Ethiopian Air and Lion Air pilots may have faced, so they would have been prepared to respond.